Snap out of it. Stop thinking your vote doesn't matter and doesn't affect our community. This November, truth is, we need everyone to vote. Fill out your ballot early and return it before November 7th. Then text your family and friends that their vote matters and remind them to get up, get out, and be a voter. A message from the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County.
Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County Forum for candidates for Sultan School District Director, District 4. I'm Vicki Roberts-Gassler, member and past president of our league. This forum is being live streamed to our league YouTube channel. To those in the virtual space, thank you for joining us. A recording of the forum will be available on this same YouTube channel for later viewing. Let me provide some background on the position. School district directors set policies on curriculum and make decisions on books, dress codes, and disciplinary actions. They hire superintendents, set district budgets, and work with teachers, administrators, parents, and community members to support all aspects of K through 12 education. Candidates for Sultan School District Director, District 4 are Marianne Naslund and Mary Cameron Perillo. It is the policy of the league to be nonpartisan. Therefore, we neither support or endorse candidates or oppose them or political parties. It is the policy of the league to be nonpartisan. The rules for participation in this forum were sent ahead of time to all candidates. I will pose the questions and will clearly state the amount of time allowed for each answer. We are using a countdown timer visible to all candidates, and time limits on answers will be strictly enforced. I will change the starting order for each question, alternating candidates in the starting position to ensure a fair sequence. The order for the first question will be Ms. Perillo and then Ms. Naslund. Let's begin. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to the first question. Ms. Perillo, the question is, what are the major issues you feel need to be addressed by this office? Please explain why you're focusing on these issues.
So my family moved to Sultan about 15 months ago, right around the same time that the Everett Herald wrote an article about how it's the fastest growing city in the state right now. With that growth is coming a lot more diversity. I think diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are paramount. I'm also very interested in mental health and safety around that, something that we've been addressing as a member of the Mental Health Advisory Committee. I also think social emotional learning might also help with mental health and safety, because maybe we could teach children to be more kind and empathetic. Those would be my top 3 issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Naslund.
Hi, thank you everyone for joining us. I love the Sky Valley and I'm excited for the opportunity to run for school board. My priorities are infrastructure. We have aging infrastructure and a lot of new students moving into the new housing developments. And if we don't have a plan in place, we cannot keep putting up portable classrooms and have that be the answer. Band-Aid, yes, but long range, we need to fix our infrastructure. Our enrollment is growing. It's kind of been a top issue out here in the Valley. Education and financial responsibility are huge for everyone that lives out here. I am so sorry. I forgot what your primary question was there for a moment. I'm just going to stop there.
Well, thank you. What qualifications and experience? This next question and the subsequent questions will be 90 seconds. So what qualifications and experiences make you a good choice to address the issues that are important to you? For 90 seconds, beginning with Ms. Naslund.
You. Well, I have a bachelor's degree in business administration. I've served on the Sultan City Council and been the president of the Sultan Public School Employees Union, a member of SEIU 1948. I was the chapter president from 2015 to 2018. I was the Gold Bar Elementary School PTA secretary treasurer from 1999 to 2002, and I was the Sultan High School Senior Parents Association president, both 2010 and 2013. I worked for the city of Sultan from 1997 to 1999, and I worked for the Sultan School District from 2002 to 2018.
Thank you. Same question to Ms. Perillo.
So given that my top focuses are diversity, equity, and inclusion, mental health and safety, and social emotional learning, I think I'm uniquely qualified due to a couple of different parent leadership programs I have been able to participate in. One of those is Parent Ambassadors. The other is Parent Leadership Training Institute. Both are civic engagement and advocacy courses. I have, as part of a PLTI alumni group, I was able to participate in their race equity conference in Rochester, New York, which I brought my daughter to, who was 4 months old at the time. I'm also not your typical school board candidate in a couple of different ways. One is that I am a bit younger. To be fair, I'm 40. I'm not exactly super young anymore, but a little younger than the typical candidate. I also have experience in some lower income programs that I think other board members would not bring to the table. Things such as WIC, ECAP, which is state funded low income preschool. And both my children are on Apple Care. Also, my children are in kindergarten and 5th grade, so they will presumably spend all of their career here.
Thank you. The next question, beginning with Ms. Perillo, is how do you prioritize budget needs? What do you weigh first when making budget decisions?
Well, that's certainly a complicated question. Like with any budget, you have to go line by line, prioritizing what you think is most important. The district we came from was the Marysville district. They had a levy fail. And the first thing they did was cut all of their paraeducators. That would be an example of something I would not want to do. Paraeducators are really needed. They work hand in hand with the kids day by day, especially those kids that need a one-on-one aid. So that would be an example of something I would not want to cut from a tight budget. Yeah, I would have to figure out, I'd have to look at it line by line. What's the highest cost? Does it have any return? How many students is it serving? I just look at it from a logical standpoint.
Thank you. Over to Ms. Naslund.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. How do you prioritize budget needs? What do you weigh first when making budget decisions?
Budget decisions. One of the primary things I would look at would be enrollment versus the budget expenses to see what the ratio is sitting at. Priority would be what benefits the kids. Secondary would be what benefits athletics. And then wages are always going to be a driving force in the budget. The biggest portion of the district budget is wages. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question to Ms. Naslund first is, what criteria should be applied when determining curriculum content in this district?
That's a tough one. I have not had any experience in selecting curriculum, as previously when I worked for the district, my job was in maintenance and operations. Understanding the diversity, equity, and inclusion component now, I would assume that that should be a driving force when selecting curriculum, so that not just one side of the story is told, not just the winning side when it comes to history. There's many players in our history. Math. Math curriculum is always going to be top of my list. I see numbers. My kids see numbers. My kids were amazing in math. Math is needed. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Perillo, curriculum issues.
So I also think DE&I is important, as I've mentioned, also social emotional learning. But first of all, I think we need to follow the law. So if an item is sent to the public and we vote on it and it passes, it is not up to the district to determine whether or not that is implemented. It is not a district in a board member's place to come in and say, I didn't like this bill. I disagree with it. We're not going to include it. So I think that's the most important thing to keep in mind.
Thank you. Next question first to Ms. Perillo. What is your position on the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion training for educators and other staff? Please explain.
As I mentioned, this is one of the fastest growing communities. As it's growing, the diversity is growing as well. We need to be teaching DE&I training, because how else are they going to implement that, right? It's important that we're taking care of the needs of all of our students, and not just the ones that are the loudest or the ones who has the largest representation, but all of the students in the district.
Thank you. Ms. Naslund? Diversity, equity, and inclusion training for educators and other staff.
To start with, that should be a full-time position with a game plan to train not just the teachers, but the para-educators, the custodians, the nursing staff, and the food service people, in addition to the grounds and maintenance workers and the bus drivers. When one group is promoting it and the other group is oblivious to it, we're not going to get the same consistency across the board for everyone. But starting with a full-time paid position, not a teacher or a principal who has that added to their current duties. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Beginning with Ms. Naslund, what consideration should be made in responding to a request to ban a book from the school library or from the curriculum?
Well, I think that freedom of speech should apply to books, although there is inappropriate content out there. Since there is staff in the school libraries who makes the decisions to purchase the books, I would have to defer to them in selecting appropriately. If a parent is not happy with a selection, I would hope that they would make an appointment to talk to the principal and the librarian about why they're opposed to that book. They can be opposed to it, but that doesn't necessarily mean we need to remove it. Everyone has choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Perillo.
So this is a topic I feel very strongly about, given that my kids go to school here. If you don't want your children to read a certain book, that's okay. That's under your control. What is not okay is to remove it from the ability of all the other students to access it. I trust that librarians, the principals, the educators, they have all been trained experts in a way that I am not. And I trust their judgment to keep what is truly inappropriate away from children.
Thank you. The next question is, what does the term parent involvement mean to you? Beginning with Ms. Perillo.
So parent involvement is parents being actively and meaningfully engaged in their children's education, communication with the teachers, communication with the school staff in general. We want parents to know that they're their first educator in their children's lives, and possibly the most important one, being with them most of the time. We want parents to play an important role in their children's education, to feel like they have ownership and an important place and a welcome place to do that at school board meetings as well as at school.
Thank you. Ms. Naslund.
I was a very involved mom, that's for sure. My kids are now 28 and 31, and I was frequently in the classroom volunteered in the office. I carted my kids to soccer practice and piano lessons and helped them with school homework when they got stuck. That was in addition to being on the PTA and organizing activities. All parents, it's not for everybody. You have to be wanting to be involved, but there's so many positive benefits to being involved in your kids' education in the school system. Even now, my kids are young adults and I still get phone calls from them asking me questions, and I'm very blessed. I would not have it any other way. Thanks.
Thank you. What suggestions do you have for improving the academic performance of students in the district, beginning with Ms. Naslund?
Improving academic performance. Well, that one I feel starts at home when parents have a positive perception of their student and their student's education. They will make sure that they get their homework done. They will make sure that they get plenty of rest at night. They will make sure that they have well-balanced meals, so that they're not hungry and cranky all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Perillo?
So she touched on parental involvement. I think parental involvement is the most important part of improving academic performance. As I said, we are our children's first and maybe most important teachers, and we need to be very involved in their education day to day. I also think that students need to have a little bit more ownership. They need to know that they need to be more responsible for communicating with their teachers. I would say those are the two top for me.
Thank you. For our final question, you will have 60 seconds. The question is, please tell us something about your life experience that might surprise or intrigue voters. Beginning with Ms. Perillo.
So I do a lot of time volunteering with various organizations that promote children's issues. I am in Washington, D.C. right now, again, volunteering my time with Save the Children Action Network. I will be headed to the Hill tomorrow to speak with Patty Murray, Kim Schreier, and Maria Cantwell about supporting early childhood education, as well as the Farm Bill, because it includes SNAP benefits. Catherine, can I grab the baby? So I have two roommates, my friend Catherine, but also this adorable 4-month-old baby. This is baby Summer. She's going to the Hill with us tomorrow as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Naslund.
I would like to tell everyone that in addition to living in the Sky Valley community for the past 30 years, I was the 2017 Sky Valley Volunteer Citizen of the Year, and I was the 2012 Reader's Digest Hometown Hero. And you can actually watch the video on YouTube if you Google YouTube Hometown Hero Reader's Digest Marianne Naslund.
Thank you. That was the last of our questions. The League thanks these candidates for joining us and for running for office. A recording of the forum and others will be available on the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County website and on our YouTube channel. Find links at lwvsnoho.org. We encourage you to explore additional information about these and all candidates. The Snohomish County voter pamphlet will be mailed starting October 18th. Vote411.org, sponsored by the League, is another good source of information, which will be available starting on October 9th. Ballots will be mailed starting October 19th, and Election Day is November 7th. Please be a voter. Thank you to our League Candidate Forum team, and special thanks to Dave Moon and the Sultan School students at turkpride.tv who made this live stream possible. And of course, thank you all for joining us. This concludes our Candidate Forum.